In the 70s, I think in the 70s, you had people going to prison in the 60s. And I make a comment about uh, prison politics really impacted the Hells Angels more than people really want to ever admit. And I've got to tell you, the philosophy and the posture and the vibe that these people that had done time in prison were bringing back to them, I didn't understand it till I went to prison myself. And then it was like an epiphany. I go, oh, I get it. And I think you've got these prison gangs, these guys killing each other, killing their own. These guys bring that back. And, there was no murders in the 60s, and then all of a sudden the 70s hits it. Starts with Terry the Tramp, how did he die? Well, he fucking got hot shotted. That's how he died. What happened to Tiny? Where does a 6'4", 380-pound guy disappear to? You've got the shit going on up in Northern California at George Weatherin's ranch. Bodies buried out there So, did death become a part of it? How do I defend that? Yeah, it did become part of it. I guess I'd be lying if was it part of it for me? No, I was in it for the motorcycles and the brotherhood, and I was hoping the rest of the club was as well. And I think there was a lot of people in the club that was the majority of how people felt. But how do you explain Harry the Horse? I went to his funeral. Gary Robles' funeral. I went to his funeral. I could keep going on and on and on. Fat Ray, he got killed by the Mongols. Art got killed by the Mongols. Ray Glore gets killed. The police describe it as an in-house killing. Yeah, there was a lot of funerals I went to, and law enforcement took that and spun it, created a lot of doubt within each other. People start doubting each other. You see somebody glancing at you, you think, well, why is he looking at me like that? And let me tell you, what magnified it a million times was a little drug called crank. Well, yeah, that was probably the last time I saw him. And I'm going to tell you this, I've talked about it for years, wrote about it in my books. I have profound dreams. I always have since I was a little kid, still have them. And after Irish got killed, Irish and I had not resolved our problem. And I'll be goddamned if Irish didn't come to me in a dream, told me we were all good. And that was satisfaction for me. Because Irish, shortly after that, they were getting ready to go to prison. Sonny was going to prison. I think that's part of the reason he was being so vocal at the funeral. He was getting ready to go to prison. He knew what was happening. The writing was on the wall. I had become the voice of the Hells Angels since Sonny's, vocal operation, along with Irish. And Irish and him were both getting ready to go to prison, which was going to put me in a position of, power, whether you want to look at it that way or not, whether we want to say I'm full of shit. That's the bottom line. I was the guy with the voice. I was the guy everybody was calling from the media to get statements because Sonny had gone on a hiatus because he was conscientious about his voice, I guess. The only interview I can remember Sonny and I doing after his surgery was in 1999 in search of the Hells Angels for the History Channel. I had been petitioned by them being the History Channel, and I thought there's no way I can go on the History Channel and do a show about the history of the Hells Angels without Sonny Barger accompanying me. And Sonny did accompany me, and I was disappointed he didn't appear on the screen with me. Our interviews were separate, and our segments were always separate, but it was myself, Sonny, and none other than Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter Thompson was also involved in that search of the Hells Angels.
Although the Angels are seen as rebels against society, many are World War II and Korean War veterans. Their sense of patriotism comes to bear on a group of anti-war protesters on October 16th, 1965.
There was a march, I think, to one of the detention pens for draft resistors. Went 10,000 people. At the city line was a gigantic phalanx of cops. The Angels attacked, they burst through the police lines and attacked the leaders of the demonstration with clubs.
In a brief, violent encounter in which the Angels claim to be defending America, they do manage to win many conservatives, the same people who condemn them, over to their side.
President Lyndon B. Johnson, 1600 Pennsylvania Ave, Washington, D.C. Dear Mr. President, on behalf of myself and my associates, I volunteer a group of loyal Americans for behind-the-line duty in Vietnam. We feel that a crack group of trained guerrillas could demoralize the Viet Cong and advance the cause of freedom. We are available for training and duty immediately. Sincerely, Ralph Barger, Hells Angels.
By then, Hunter S. Thompson is putting the finishing touches on his book about the Hells Angels. All he needs is an ending. He gets it at a year-end Angels gathering.
Had all the fear sensations of about to get beaten to death.
Junkie George got in an argument with his wife. Now, George's wife, not Hunter's. And he slapped her. But when he slapped her, his dog bit him. And he kicked his dog. And Hunter jumped up and said, only punks slap their wives and kick their dogs. And George said, I guess you want some too. And proceeded to beat him up. Well, he got beat up a little bit, it got stopped. We put him in his car and told him he better leave. I mean, he's a good writer, and, he don't mind getting beat up to get a good story.
Yeah, the cops wouldn't let me in at the nearby police station because I was bleeding all over the place. Get out of here. You can't use the bathroom, you're dripping blood. That was maybe the worst shock of the night. No, it was inconvenient. But I wouldn't recommend it. But, yeah, it goes with the territory.
And the next thing that was on the cover of the book was, I lived with, and I was almost killed by the Hells Angels.
Thompson's book, Hells Angels, is published in 1966. Thompson rides the book to celebrity, and his saga of the outlaw life is embraced by the media and hailed by critics. Thompson's most important revelation is the dark, uncontrollable side to the Angels that can erupt without warning.
Sonny didn't like Hunter. I thought Thompson was a brilliant guy. I thought his book, Hells Angels, was a satire. I thought it was brilliant. How he ended it, he didn't have an ending, so he creates an ending. I know, I'll get beat up by the Hells Angels. What an ending. And that was his ending. He turned that book into a really powerful book because he had supported the Hells Angels the whole damn book. Misunderstood Americans, heroes, anti-heroes, and what happens at the end. Son of a bitch, they're animals. The world was right, they're no good. And it was a setup as far as I was concerned. But going back to Andy Shishon, that was a tough day, Irish and I at odds. We'd done a lot of partying together. But I had to back Andy, and shortly after that, Irish went to a bar, and Irish played rough. He always did. And if he was still here, he'd still be playing rough. And he was stabbed. After the guy stabbed him, he said, what are you going to do now? The guy pulled out his gun and shot him 4 or 5 times. Got killed by a member of the Aryan Brotherhood, what I consider under very shady circumstances. And the outcome seemed very, very questionable. I didn't like the way it was resolved. In my mind, and in a lot of other Hells Angels' mind, it never was resolved. I think at that time, T.B. Bingham had just paroled, and Irish murder had transpired. Sonny and I were scheduled to go talk to TB Bingham at the last minute. I was told by Sonny, not by TB, I was told by Sonny, he doesn't want you at the meeting. It's going to be a one-on-one meeting with him, which I don't like one-on meetings because you can come back and say whatever you want. I always brought a witness with me, although I was selfish and I would tell him not to say anything because I had my own agenda and my own way of dealing with things. I wanted him there for a witness so nobody could say I manipulated or misinterpreted or misspoke myself as to what really transpired. And I told Sonny I would go there and not say a word. And he said no. Now, a lot of things come to mind. And, I could go in 2 or 3 different directions right now. But I was very disappointed. I thought that it wasn't handled properly. And I think, speculation now, I think that Sonny was preparing to go into prison, and I don't think he wanted a problem with the Aryan Brotherhood. He was about to do 5 years time, and walking the yard 5 years looking over your shoulder is not a lot of fun. I did it for a year in Texas, and it ages you, and look at the wrinkles. Well, he got buried in the Oakland cemetery, which is was for an Oakland Hells Angel. He has a big granite headstone with a death head on it. I mean, the funeral. What can I say about it? Been to so many funerals. It's a very sad situation to put somebody in the ground that you have such a close connection to. And, did Irish and I always agree? No. We had some heavy disagreements, but we never raised a fist to each other. Irish knew where I was coming from, and Irish, held that position in Oakland as a president. That was Sonny's handpicked man after he got diagnosed with the cancer and had his larynx cut out.